Hey guys. Just gonna hang out here and do a little bit of work. Wait for a few people to pop in. So if you can see and hear me at any point, go ahead and let me know in the chat. And until then, I'll just do a little work here live. Just taking, I got about an hour of kind of source material that I got from using the program Pulse Stretch, which is a very cool program. And it does exactly what you would think. It stretches sounds out, but makes some really amazing drones and stuff like that, and just really interesting sounds. So I'm going to cut those up so that I can kind of put them in my sample library. So if you're watching the replay, you could always skip ahead a little bit, and we'll get to the training today. Or I don't know. I don't want to call it a training. I did kind of. I don't normally like make slides and stuff, but when it comes to this subject, I wrote a bunch of things down on a piece of paper, and I was like, I should probably make slides. So I'll be doing kind of a little slide thing. So yeah, if you can see and hear me, let me know. And comment inside. I'm just going to wait for a few people to show up. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to cut up some samples. And hopefully I can hear what the hell's going on. Oh, looks like I should probably solo this. There we go. So once again, I'm just cutting up samples. If you can see and hear me, just let me know in the comments, in the little chat, and then we'll go ahead and get started on this. While I'm waiting, I'm just kind of cutting up some samples here. Cool. Good to see you, Miguel. Thanks for that. Just going to wait for a few more people to show up, and then we'll get started. Awesome. Good to hear. Check in here. Cool. Looks like we got a few people there. So I will stop this and let's jump over and get into this. All right. So I'm just going to say right up front that the slideshow thing, I know it's a little bit boring, a little bit kind of like technical and bullshitty. But stick around. I think it's going to be worthwhile. I would love your feedback and all that sort of stuff while we go through this so that we can kind of discuss it. What we're getting into is just the whole subject of procrastination and trying to figure out why we do it, how we can kind of solve the problem, what the downsides of procrastination are, and what we can do to beat procrastination. Because, we're coming to the end of the year, and, if you're like most of us, you're probably not completely satisfied with how much you accomplished in this year. Everyone makes a lot of big goals and then kind of slacks a little bit, once again, procrastinates. And we all do it. The reason I'm doing this is as a reminder to myself as well, because I've taken on quite a bit of procrastination. And, I've gone through periods where I've been really, really active. So, when you get to this place, it's actually, even though you've, been in times where you're really motivated, you can still start suffering from procrastination. And little by little, it kind of creeps in. And all of a sudden you realize you don't know how to motivate yourself again. So that's kind of what this is going to be about. It's not really going to be as music related, but we'll kind of bring it back around because, the bottom line is when you solve your procrastination in one area of your life, it starts to solve it in all the different areas. So this will definitely affect your creativity and music making and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, if you have any questions while we're doing this, then definitely ask them, because I definitely want this to be interactive, if at all possible. Let's see if I can jump over here. And all right, cool. Let me jump all the way to the beginning here. All right. So, hey again to Miguel. Tedron says hello. Dalton says ayo. Awesome. And anyone else, if you've got any issues or whatever, feel free to drop it in. Let me know where you guys are coming in from. That's kind of good to know, because it's about 10 minutes to 10 a.m. my time. So I'm kind of curious where you guys are coming from. Dalton says, I need to get on Ableton. I love the UI layout. Yeah, it's a great program. And after we go through this, if you want, we can do kind of a Q&A. So feel free to stick around for that. And I can jump back over to Ableton and help you guys out a little bit. So if you feel like, Dalton says he's from Michigan. I'm curious where everyone's from. That's awesome. Michigan. A lot of famous people came out of Michigan. At least it comes out for the UK. So maybe this is a pretty good time, kicking off earlier. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started here. Strap yourselves in. Feel free to grab a pen and paper, take notes, or you can watch the replay of this as well. But it's kind of important to really get the distinctions on what's happening with procrastination, because if you don't really understand why you're doing it and why it's so difficult to stop, then you're going to have trouble when it comes up. And I can guarantee most of you probably have it coming up, all right? Type of 1, if you suffer from some form of procrastination from time to time, just type 1 in the comments. I'm kind of curious how many of you have the issues, because I definitely have the issues. I mean, I've had very productive years before, but procrastination still creeps in, and we're going to kind of talk about why. So if you suffer from procrastination, not getting as much done as you want, find yourself at the end of another year and you promised yourself you were going to do certain things and you did not do them, then welcome to the club. Type 1 if that's you. So a couple things that I wanted to accomplish this year that I haven't. Yeah, Dalton, you're right. It's pretty much all of us. All right, out from Belgium. That's right. Good to see you, cuz. I wanted to teach myself how to basically play piano, get more confidence in that. Thing is, I think I took on too many things, and because I tried to take on too many things, it started in on procrastination. So I didn't get into piano playing as I wanted to this year. And the goal really wasn't to become any sort of an expert. I just wanted to be able to sit down at a piano and kind of, figure out ideas and stuff, kind of know my keys a little better. Another goal was to get better on my guitar, and I did get better on my guitar. But I did it for, about 4 months, and then I kind of stopped doing it. You know what I mean? So I think I definitely improved. The time wasn't wasted, but I didn't carry out through the whole year. And then with business stuff, and with training you guys and all the different things, I wanted to give you guys a lot more value this year than I actually did. I am taking on some music projects, and those have been going pretty well. But overall, I've procrastinated on a few things, and allowed myself to suffer from a lot of fatigue and all kinds of different stuff. So I literally hired coaches to help me get to the bottom of this. Now, this isn't really what I'm going to talk about here. Isn't from the coaches necessarily, because I'm getting coaches for all kinds of different aspects of my life. But when you notice a pattern that's happening and you don't have someone to point out your patterns, you can't see your own blind spots. You usually are going to have a hard time changing that pattern. So that's why I invested quite a bit of money for me to hire a couple coaches to help me transform and that sort of thing. So it's all this stuff's a process, you know what I mean? So let's get into it. So how to end procrastination. Everyone see my screen? Type a 2 if you could see my screen, and we'll get into this. And while I'm waiting for 2s to show up, by the way, there's some latency, so I kind of I'll speak, and sometimes I'll be waiting for you to make comments and stuff like that. All right. Also this year, I wanted to focus more on, thanks Dalton, focus more on astral projection. I've been wanting to get better at that, and I've procrastinated on that as well. So it's really interesting, the things that we want to do, but we still procrastinate. Rupi, thank you, and welcome. Okay, so let's get into it. So let's start with why we procrastinate, all right? And this isn't going to be like a full drawn out, super long presentation. I don't think, maybe about 30 minutes or something like that. But let's get into why we procrastinate. So the first reason that we procrastinate is because we're usually procrastinating from things that we don't feel safe doing because they're not familiar and they're not comfortable. All right. Doing the things that are necessary are usually not comfortable if we haven't exercised that muscle of doing what we should do. And what ends up happening is that we start to feel unsafe in doing these things. For example, me doing these live streams, I've done, probably close to 100 live streams. And, when I go a while without doing one, it's still something that I procrastinate on because it doesn't feel safe. Me talking to you, I might kind of fuck up what I'm saying or stumble my words, or maybe people aren't going to show up, or, whatever it is. It takes a while for me to feel safe. And sometimes when I haven't done it in a while, I just have to do that and allow myself to not feel safe. And the more you do it, the more safe you feel, because the more familiar it is, the more of a pattern that you develop. And anything that you develop into a pattern will start to feel safer and safer. But anytime you start something new, it's not going to feel safe. If that makes sense to you guys, type in a 3. Following new habits, or we're following habits that are hard to break. So procrastination kind of becomes a habit, or the things that we do in place of what we should be doing. For me, it's been sleeping a lot more than I should. For me, it's been getting on social media more than I should. These are habits that are difficult to break, right? Because you do it so often that every time something sparks in your head, the first thing you want to do is grab your phone and either figure out a solution, or maybe you made a post and you want to see what kind of reaction you're getting. Whatever it is, those habits are hard to break, especially when you're looking for a reaction. Social media is all about trying to connect yourself when you don't feel very connected, when you don't feel safe. So this is your way of making yourself feel safe immediately and getting that immediate gratification. And there we go. When we procrastinate, we're chasing instant gratification. So instead of writing that email or doing that work, or working on that song that you said you wanted to finish, instead you find something that will give you gratification right away. This could be making yourself some food, or grabbing a snack or something like that. This could be watching a TV show. This could be social media, whatever it is for you. That instant gratification gives you that kind of instant safe and warm feeling, right? It gives you those positive feelings. Also, we procrastinate because changing your patterns requires more brain resources. So the brain essentially, it likes to do the same thing. It likes to be in automatic mode, right? So it tends to only want to do the things that it's done before, and that are patterns, right? Anything that breaks that pattern requires your brain to do thinking that it doesn't want to do. And you've only got so many thinking resources in your brain. Your brain's super powerful, but it can be draining doing something new. So your brain, in order to protect you, it tries to keep you from doing new things. That way it can kind of put all the resources of the brain into different parts of the body, processing food or doing, whatever it's going to do. So when you're trying to change patterns, it requires some resources, right? And the more you procrastinate, the less brain resources that you're going to have access to right away. All right. And we procrastinate because the ego doesn't like to change. So the ego basically is like always asking, who am I? Who am I? And whatever is your pattern, whatever you normally do, if you're a person who always gets pissed off when someone is driving slow in front of you, your ego doesn't want to change that. That's not something that your ego wants to let go. Your ego says, well, that's just the type of person we are. So it literally takes brain resources to change your behavior. And it takes brain resources to change your pattern. So the ego likes to stay the same. It's kind of similar to brain resources. The ego is in some way trying to protect you by knowing who it is, right, at all times. And that's why you have to sometimes let go of the ego in order to make change, because the ego doesn't want to change. Even if you're not where you want to be, even if you're not the person that you wish you were, the ego doesn't care about that. ego only cares about who you are right now. So if you become someone new, then the ego transforms and starts, getting comfortable with that new you. So if you're a person who takes a lot of action or starts taking a lot of action, all of a sudden the ego will stop fighting you and it'll incorporate that into you. And then it'll seem really natural for you to take more action. And it'll seem unnatural for you to procrastinate. I hope that makes sense to you guys. You guys with me so far? Type yes if you guys are with me, if you're following this, if this is making sense to you. And if this is something that maybe you haven't really considered before, that, maybe getting the wheels of your brain starting to turn a little bit on why we don't accomplish the things that we want to through the year, right? Why we procrastinate. So if this sounds familiar, if you're getting some aha moments, go ahead and type yes in there. And I'll just wait for a second. I'm going to check and see how we're doing. Oh, I got to drag this over. Got a few of you guys still here. Cool. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and move on. Thanks, Richard. Good to hear from you. So the next reason we procrastinate is it feels good in the moment. Taking a nap feels good in the moment. It feels safe. For me, I like to lay down. I like to wrap myself up. It makes me feel safe. I think it's kind of similar to, if you've ever heard of Thunder Jacket, which you can give dogs like a sweater and they feel safer being wrapped around with something. I think humans can be the same way as well. So sometimes wrapping ourselves up or filling ourselves up with warm food or something that tastes really good, it feels good in the moment. Unfortunately, those moments don't really last. So you go for another kind of instant gratification moment that feels good instead of doing the hard thing that we're procrastinating against. All right? And doing something new actually feels wrong. Once again, the ego and the brain are trying to keep you doing the same things because it saves resources for the brain, and the ego doesn't like to change. So anytime you're trying to do something new, if you haven't sat down to work on music in a while, it's going to feel really wrong to you. Your brain's going to say, nah, this isn't the right time. This doesn't feel right. It's probably going to be a failure anyway. Why even bother? It's going to be a waste of time. I might as well just watch another Netflix episode or whatever. That's kind of what you're going up against. And that's why procrastination can be so strong, because doing the right thing can feel really wrong sometimes until we get into the pattern of doing the right thing more and more. And this isn't really about you just forcing yourself to do things that you really that aren't really healthy for you or what have you. This is all about you getting in touch with yourself. And when you align to what you should be doing, in your heart, not what in your head, but in your heart what you should be doing, you need to take action on that. And even when it's the right thing, even when the heart tells you it's the right thing, it'll still feel wrong because you're not in the pattern of doing that very often. So I hope that makes sense to you guys. All right. So we probably went into some of this already, but the downside of procrastination, there's many downsides. So let's jump into that real quick. And just give me an exclamation point if this is something that is connecting with you. My goal here, most of the time I'm teaching Ableton techniques and all this sort of stuff. But procrastination is such a huge monster. It's the elephant in the room. It's the thing that really is stopping you. You're not being stopped because you don't know enough techniques. 99% of you know everything you need to know to finish a song. It might not be the best song you ever make, but you can finish a song with what you know. I promise you that. So what's really getting in your way is just procrastination and not sitting down to do the work. All right. So the downside of procrastination is it wastes your life. We've only got so much time in our lives, and we're just jumping from one instant gratification to another. What happens is when we go for instant gratification, it's kind of like the candy. We like junk food, and we'll get addicted to it. It gives us a quick boost. But most of us know that we get in the habit of doing that, it'll actually make us feel like shit later on, right? It's not healthy for us, and we end up in a worse position than we were before we started. So it's really a waste of your life to procrastinate. Everyone needs some downtime and recuperation time. So that's not what we're talking about necessarily here. You shouldn't force yourself to work 16-hour days just because you think you need to become a workhorse. That's really not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about getting in connection with yourself and realizing the things that are going to improve your life and getting yourself to do those. So the downside of procrastination is it enforces the patterns of procrastination. The more you do it, the more you do it. That's just kind of the way this works. Everything's a pattern. People tell me a lot of times they can't finish songs, but they're really good at finishing 8-bar loops, right? I'm sure a few of you in here feel the same way. And you wonder why you're not able to finish songs. And the reason is because you're practicing not finishing songs. You're practicing making music only to the point that it feels comfortable, and then you stop. That becomes a new habit. So of course you're not finishing songs because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right for you to finish that song. That's not your pattern. So that's something you need to first notice so that you can change it, okay? The downside of procrastination also leads to life staying the same. And when life stays the same, when you're not progressing, you slowly decline. That's just the way things work. When you procrastinate on things, they get worse, right? When you don't dust your house, does it get less dusty later or more dusty, right? Same thing with your brain and with all the things that you want in life. They get dustier and dustier. So if you think that procrastination just kind of keeps your life the same, it will for a bit, but it will start in a downward spiral. It'll start declining your life instead of improving it, all right? And that starts to put you in a negative life trajectory. The way I look at it is life, everything in your life is already kind of there. It's in the here and now. And what we kind of do is we jump from one lifeline to another. So anything that's possible to happen to your life, on one negative thing, you can end up homeless. On another thing, you can end up, in the biggest mansion owning an island, right? And our life usually goes in patterns somewhere in between. So when we make a new decision, when we make the same decisions that aren't serving us, then we traject ourselves on a decline or kind of a more of a negative life trajectory. So we kind of put ourselves in line with a negative lifeline instead of a positive one. Okay. You don't have to believe that, but it serves me as a way of looking at the way life works. And I found it to be really, really powerful. There's a book that's a little complicated, but super powerful, kind of about this subject. It was written by a Russian physicist, quantum physicist. And the book is called Reality Transurfing. And it's kind of gets into that sort of thing. I won't dive too deep into it because it's a really deep subject. But just staying the same, usually means that you're procrastinating on the things that you should be doing that's going to improve your life, okay? Also, life doesn't reward people who hide from it. And isn't that what we're doing when we're not doing the things that inside we know will improve our lives, right? Life doesn't reward you for sitting on your ass. Now, life can reward you from giving yourself downtime, giving yourself time to relax, time to recharge. That's fine, because sometimes when you're in those kind of moments, almost meditative moments, some of the great ideas come to you in that relaxed state. But that's different than procrastination. You have to know when you've given yourself enough downtime and it's time to kind of move yourself forward. And if you're not moving yourself forward, then life doesn't reward you, right? So think about all the things that you wanted to accomplish this year. I'm sure most of you are aspiring music producers. I'm not sure how much music you finished. I'm not sure how much you learned that you had hoped to learn. But I'm willing to bet that most of you are feeling behind where you wish you were, right? Which is normal. Even if you've accomplished a lot, you'll probably feel a little behind. But if you've accomplished quite a bit that you wanted to, you'll also feel that that feeling of satisfaction that you've become a different person through this experience, okay? So, are you guys with me? If you're with me, let me just take a look here. Awesome. Okay, so we got a few of you. Yeah, if you're with me and want to get into kind of beating procrastination, some of the things that I have done that have been really helpful, some of the suggestions that I can give you, just let me know you're with me. You can type anything you want. Just it really helps if you guys are interactive, because here's the thing is not only does it keep me from feeling silly that I'm talking to no one, but it also engages you in this content. The more that you comment means that you're actually thinking and processing what I'm saying instead of passively kind of trolling the content, right? I know this isn't the sexiest subject. I could probably do some sound design stuff and you guys would be really into it. But I think this is more important. And with the end of the year coming up, I want to make sure you guys are on board, because if you guys are on board, then I can help you. And that's my goal. I want to help as many people as I can, because I've been everywhere that I'm talking about. And some of you know my story and some of you guys don't. So, Richard, you're absolutely right. Let's kick procrastination to the curb. So let's get into this. Let's talk about what happens when we beat procrastination. All right. So what happens is we start stacking. The more little things that we take on, the easier it becomes to take on the bigger things. So it starts ending resistance to positive new changes. And that's what you're going to face to anything new is resistance. So this procrastination, that's all it is resistance training. Just like exercise, you come in for a month and you're lifting 20 pounds. You'll realize that with that practice, now you're able to lift 25 or 30 pounds because you are practicing exercising resistance, right? And getting better at it. So you can end resistance to make positive new changes. And every time you do this, it creates a bigger ripple and a bigger ripple, and you're able to take on bigger and bigger challenges, right? Obviously, it's a better use of your time. Time is the only thing we have, and you can't get it back once it's gone. So what happens when we go for instant gratification all the time is we will suffer for that. We suffer the consequences of doing the easy things. Everyone does the easy things. Everyone does the comfortable things. But it's not the best use of your time. When you're challenging procrastination, it's almost always a better use of your time, okay? And you can look back and find that you have made a better use of your time, and you're standing in a new place, and you can look around at your new surrounding because of how you managed your time. Like we talked about before, this can create a positive life trajectory. So if you want to have your best life, you need to put your best effort into the things that your heart says you should be doing. Even if it feels scary, even if it doesn't feel right, even if you feel you don't know enough, even if you think people will laugh at you for doing it, even if you think you're going to make mistakes and fuck up. All of these things are just getting in the way of the positive trajectory in your life that you want, okay? Now, like I said, this relates to all aspects of your life. So you can apply this to anything. You can apply this to your relationships. You can apply this to making your house look more like a home. You could apply this to your health. But no matter what you apply it to, it will come around and start penetrating all different areas of your life. And I guarantee this will penetrate into your music making as well. And not only will you have spent more time doing it, but you will get better results from doing it as well. Delayed gratification results in a better life. So, for example, exercise is a delayed gratification. Now, we could become, over time, addicted to exercise, but that's not the way that it starts. So you're delaying the gratification that comes. However, so you have a little dip in your gratification when you do this thing, right? And that's the reason that we usually procrastinate, is we don't want that dip. But not only do we come back to normal, but the delayed gratification actually puts us into a positive trajectory. So life just gets better and better. So we get better life results as a result of allowing ourselves to delay gratification instead of going for instant gratification. Because if you go for instant gratification, then you release that dopamine in your brain. And by doing that, your brain is telling you, we've accomplished something. And so you feel, okay, you feel relaxed again. You feel like you don't really have the urge to do the thing that you really need to do because you've already been given that dopamine, right? Delayed gratification delays that dopamine boost. But along with that dopamine boost, you get better results, which just is an upward spiral instead of a downward spiral. And once again, when you're doing this, your life will transform more quickly than ever before. You know, all you need to do is change 1% every day, right? If you change 1% every day, think about how much you change over the course of 1 year. Now, if you're changing 1% every day, you could say in 365 days that you've changed 365%. So you've like tripled who you were, but that's not actually true. There's compounding, because you're compounding 1% on top of the other 1% on top of the other 1%. So it's kind of a quantum boost. You know, just by doing these little things, it makes massive transformations over time. Okay. So I can give you some of my tips now. Now that you should hopefully be a bit more motivated to take something on. All right. So what you should do now, starting tomorrow. What I would also add to this is give yourself 3 things, like write 3 things that you want to do tomorrow that you've been putting off. Okay. And then when you wake up, get up immediately. Okay. Now I know some of you have to do this to go to work. I would recommend that you try to get up 30 minutes earlier if you can, even if you got to go to sleep 30 minutes earlier, so that you can give yourself 30 minutes to take on little tasks that you normally wouldn't take on in the morning. So wake up, get up immediately. Then do something you notice you normally resist. Some of us, even me, do you resist taking a shower? Are there dishes in the sink that you haven't cleaned? Is there any little cleaning or taking out the trash you need to do? Do you avoid exercise in the morning? Can you spend 10 minutes doing some exercise, right? All these things will get you started on a new trajectory, because every time you take an action that you resist, you start becoming a new person, right? And then that starts a pattern of you noticing every time you resist something, you'll be like, God damn it, I'm not that person anymore. And then you'll just take on the task. It won't be a big deal. So the next good thing to do is do something that's out of character for you. You could just dance for no reason. You could sing a song out loud. You could take a walk if you're not a person who walks very often. You could write down your dreams or do a little bit of journaling, or you can meditate. If any of these things are out of character for you, this is kind of a positive habit that you can take on, just something new and different. It sparks your brain and tells your brain and your ego that you're becoming someone different. And that starts a trajectory of you doing new things, right? It's about you noticing. When you notice that you're in a pattern and you break that pattern, for example, maybe you're standing in line at the grocery store and you never talk to people. So something out of character for you would be to start up a conversation with someone, right? It's out of character. It'll make you feel a little bit nervous, but the more you do something like that, the more comfortable it will become, and the better you will get at any sort of procrastination that you find yourself in. Resolve issues that you've been putting off, okay? That could be organizing a messy closet, or fixing a leaky faucet, or maybe calling a friend that you haven't called in a while, or maybe apologizing for something, or maybe sending that email that might help you with your business or what have you. All these things are kind of resolving issues that you've been putting off. Maybe you've kind of archived a song because you're like, fuck it, I can't take it any further. Pull that thing back out. See if you can do one thing. Remember, all you got to do is sit down and get yourself 1% further. All right. And if you're resistant to this, just do the first step. If you don't normally take a walk, put on one shoe. All right. And if that's as much as you can be motivated to do, awesome. You took the first step, right? If putting on that shoe motivates you to tie your shoe, then tie the shoe. If that motivates you to put on your other shoe, do that, right? You're not overly pushing yourself. You're just doing the smallest thing. And even if you just put on one shoe that day and that's all you can do, and you take the shoe back off, awesome. At some point, you're going to get to the point where you actually step outside your house, right? So take the smallest possible step, and that will usually start you. If you're not into journaling, get a pen and paper, pull it out, and write one sentence. That's it. If you're motivated to do more, then do more. But start with that one thing. And if one sentence is all you can do, you've really started chipping away at your procrastination. Okay? When you notice yourself doing the bare minimum, take the next step. For example, I might be in the kitchen and I might put things away. I might put away, let's say, the things on the counter, and then I'll stop. So what I'll notice is, well, I could also wipe down the counter, right? Instead of doing the bare minimum, do the next thing, right? And you'll just notice all the time when you're doing just the bare minimum. And if you just do that next thing, you're going to be beating procrastination, all right? These should be really huge for you. Next, realize that changing your daily habits puts you in control and changes or creates positive ripples that'll dramatically improve your life. So once again, doing this thing is a delayed gratification. You're not necessarily going to feel super gratified by doing the next thing. You're going to be wanting to procrastinate. But when you realize that these small things lead to bigger things that dramatically improve your life, you'll be able to look, and by the time we get to 2020, or if you're watching this in 2020, 100 days from now of doing this, you'll notice a really massive sort of shift that's happening. And that's life-changing. It will literally change your life. And it'll take anything that you're having trouble motivating yourself to do and make it seem much, much more simple. When you take initiative, you come from a place of power instead of desperation. What usually happens is you put something off for so long that then you come from fear. You get to the point where if you don't do this thing, you're not going to be able to pay rent. Or if you don't do this thing, your health is going to decline. If you don't do this thing, your friendship is going to decline. All this sort of stuff. That's not coming from a place of power at all. It's coming from a place of desperation. And if all the things you do in life are coming from desperation, what kind of results do you think that you're going to get? Your mind frame and the energy behind the things you do often matters much more than the things you do. But of course, you need to get yourself started. So when you come from a place of power, you're going to get a much more positive ripples from that, all right? So just a little bit, what does this have to do with your music, right? Well, like I told you, the way you deal with one thing is the way that everything in your life will be processed, right? So your music, your work, your career, your home life, your relationships, your health, all of these things will connect by you might think that you're taking on just one thing, but really you're actually taking on a multi-dimensional process. So everything is the answer of what this has to do with music. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything in your life. And procrastination touches every aspect of your life. So solve your procrastination in one area and watch it ripple into your creative life. This will naturally happen, all right? And, you should put your creative life as a priority. So, for example, tonight, why don't you make one of your 3 goals something creative, all right? Put it on your list of things that you no longer want to procrastinate on. Also, keep in mind that procrastination is also about the things that you stop doing, okay? Because when you stop procrastination, you stop doing the things that you shouldn't do and replace it with the things that you should. So think about that. You're not just adding to your load, you're actually replacing the bad things with positive things. So every time you do this, you're switching out a bad habit with a new one, and the more you do that, the more you can benefit. All right? When you stop the time wasters, your creative time is going to open up. If you don't think you have time for your creativity, start with 10 or 15 minutes of sitting down and working on music. And what'll happen, if you do this for a couple weeks, you'll notice that naturally 15 minutes turns into 30 minutes, then 45 minutes, and then maybe an hour or more. It's just going to happen. When you prioritize your time, more time starts to open up for you. Obviously, the more you practice this, the more energy and confidence is going to replace fatigue and fear. Okay? For example, if I were to go live with you guys every day, my brain wouldn't fight me anymore. I would actually start to become excited. It would feel normal. It would feel abnormal for me not to do this. Okay? So that's the way you want to get. You want to get to the point where the things that you're avoiding now, it seems wrong to avoid doing them in the future. All right? So this is where you can reclaim your creativity and your enjoyment of music making and anything creative that you do. You know, I don't care if it's music making or cooking or any sort of thing that fascinates you. Stop procrastinating with it and see how your life just completely transforms. Last thing I want to say is act before you are ready. Act before you're ready. In fact, if you're here, write that down in the comments before you go. Act before you're ready. Like right now, you're not ready to comment. You're like hesitating, aren't you? You're kind of trolling. You're just watching this passively. Stop procrastinating on it. Just type it in. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to cause your first positive ripple. So just type that in to the comments. Act before you're ready. Okay? And by acting before you're ready, you start to automatically trigger action instead of hesitation. When you wait till you're ready, all you're doing is you're hesitating. You're giving yourself a reason to let the fear take over, right? Just like most of you still trying to procrastinate on just simply typing 4 words into the comments, right? Act before you're ready. Just type it in. I guarantee the people that type it in are going to be the people that will put this information to use. So it's super important that you do it. Type it in. Even if you're watching the replay, type it in. It's just a small commitment to yourself. Act before you're ready. I'm really curious how many people are going to write this in the comments. It only takes 15 seconds, but notice your resistance. Notice your resistance to doing something just this simple. You're sitting on social media and you're afraid to type 4 words. 4 words that could actually improve the rest of your day. Act before you're ready. Type it out right now. Type it out. Prene, you just put a dot. Well, that's a start, right? Because you didn't, before you didn't say anything. So that's a start. Why don't you try typing a little bit more than that? See what happens. It feels good. Act before you're ready. Let's do it, guys. Whoever's here, act before you're, there you go. Act before you're ready. How did that feel, cuz? How did it feel? It feels better than you thought, doesn't it? Because you just did something that you're not comfortable with doing. And that tells your brain that you're becoming someone that you weren't before. You're becoming someone better than you were before. Nice one, Prene. Congratulations. Feels good, doesn't it? That's your first little tiny step. Now just watch how that small action ripples into you wanting to do more. Just that little thing actually changed your trajectory for the day, right? Because you did something that you were resisting. Just a simple, simple thing. And those of you that are still feeling the fear, just do it anyway. Do it anyway. Act before you're ready. Both people who just did this, both fully agree right now with their reactions that this indeed was a positive thing for them to do. Isn't that interesting? So I have a feeling that these 2 people are probably going to take the information and do something more with it. Okay? Actually put it to use. and actually start the process of making changes so that by the time you get to 2020, if you're not already there watching the replay, you will start these positive ripples and become a new person, one act at a time. So with that, guys, go shake things up. Take this on. I really hope to see some of the positive ripples that come out of this. Once again, I know this isn't like an Ableton training. I know it's not like the sexiest thing to just look at a screen with words and listen to me talk, but it's important. It might be the most important thing. And this could change everything for you. All right? So I hope you have a fantastic day. Please share this with anyone, like tag them or share this with anyone that you think could get something out of this. And I hope that you got something out of this. And I hope that if you haven't done it yet, that you come back to this and maybe even rewatch it, but come into the comments and type in act before you're ready. It's a huge step. Have a fantastic one, guys. If you have any questions, I'm right here. So let me know. Do you have any questions? I'll give it about a minute while I drink some of my tea, or rather yerba mate. Atahu, how do I say your name? Atahalpa? Atahalpa? Sorry if I messed up your name, but thanks. Thanks for writing. Thanks for commenting. That's awesome. So if you have any questions, now's the time to do it. Normally, doing one-on-one coaching starts at $250 an hour to speak with me one-on-one. So this is kind of an opportunity for you to kind of get a little coaching in a group environment. All right. Peace to everyone. Yeah, it feels good, huh? I bet you feel like you accomplished something. Now Kuz is one of my students, actually. So he's starting the Masterclass, the Ableton 30-day, an EP and 30-day Masterclass. So huge congratulations to you taking that step. And I can't wait to really dive in with you. So there you go, guys. If you want to speak with me and you haven't ever spoke with me before, I'm going to put a link here. And what it is, it's just a quick form that you fill out. If you haven't spoken to me before, we can do a free one-on-one. And I'll just sit down and help you organize your thoughts. And you can kind of ask me anything you want. And then we could see what your best next step might be. So if you're interested in speaking with me directly, and you haven't spoken with me before, just go here in the comments, musicsoftwaretraining.com/application. That's it. All right. No selling, no anything. Just if you want to have a talk with me, if you want to take yourself to the next level. Now, Prene says, I really don't know, but I've lost interest in making music. Have you lost interest in making music, or have you just lost your inspiration for making music? Have you lost the drive to make music? Because usually what it comes from is fear that you're going to fail, or reflecting on past failures. Okay? You're no longer looking ahead of yourself. You're looking behind. And what you see behind is not what you wanted to accomplish. So you're thinking, well, I don't see a future ahead. So You need to reclaim your future. Now, it doesn't have to be music. If you've literally lost interest, you might have passion for something else. But I would suggest that you do have a passion for music, but music has maybe broken your heart a little bit. You've tried and you haven't accomplished what you wanted to. So you're no longer seeing a positive future in taking that action. Okay? This is something that we could totally work on in a one-on-one conversation, that I could help you with. But I'll tell you this right now, Pranay, if you haven't watched this whole presentation, go back once the replay is up and rewatch it. Because if you can start taking some action in other areas of your life that you're procrastinating in, I can almost guarantee that you will start to find you'll start to find inspiration for the things that you're passionate about. And if you are truly passionate about music, it will start to return and you will start to find interest in doing that. Also, what I recommend is sit down, take the first step, sit down, open Ableton, do one thing, even if it takes only 5 minutes. Just do one thing. And try to do that as many days in a row as you can. Okay? Just do one thing. You don't even have to have necessarily a plan. Having a plan, there's no problem, but when you're looking for inspiration, just sit down and have a bit of fun to start, right? Don't beat yourself up. Don't have a specific goal. Just sit down and enjoy the process of fiddling with the instruments, with the effects, and seeing just what comes out of it. 5 minutes. All right. I think that would be a pretty good start. So if there's no more questions, I don't see any other questions, I will get out of here. I hope you guys got something positive out of this. And I absolutely hope to speak to you guys real soon. Take care, guys. Have a fantastic day. Peace.